day, everyone, especially to our distinguished panelists, including our advisor, Dr. Lawrence A. Fajardo, to our critic, Ms. Kiarian Dican, together with our internship coordinator, Mr. John Christian P. Suyong, and Mr. Aris Paul Di Padron, and to Ms. Lara Milen Espexon. So today, we're here to present our narrative report entitled Hatchery of Blue Swimming Crab Fortunus pelagicus in Sriracha Fisheries Research Station, Concepcion University, Bangkok, Thailand. Before we start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Ronald C. De La Cruz, together with my co-members, including Joel Miles F. Alejandro, Joseph Raymond J. Gabasan, Denise May P. Ramos, John Fitzmillion M. Season, and John Joaquin P. Soler. So to start with the background of the internship or the introduction. So the internship began at the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources National Freshwater Technology Center in June 2025, where the interns exposed in different fisheries production stations, including the organic aquaculture production and nutrition section, fish health management section, tilapia broodstock development and production section, and fish seed production section. And the following is the internship continued at the Concepcion University in Bangkok, Thailand, where the interns participated in cultural activities and gained exposure to different departments within the Faculty of the Fisheries. And during the final week of the internship, the interns assigned at the Sriracha Fisheries Research Station, Concepcion University in Chonburi, where they introduced the different marine aquaculture production system with particular focus on blue swimming crab or the Fortunus pelagicus. So, this final phase provides a practical insight into marine aquaculture operations and further strengthen their technical skills and understanding of aquatic resource production. So next, for this figure shows the 4 campuses within Thailand, including the Chalempak Saon Nakhon Province campus in the figure A, and Kasen Sen campus in Nakhon Pathong Province in the figure B, and it shows in figure C the Bangken campus in Bangkok. And for Sriracha Fisheries Research Station in Chonburi, that located in the figure B. So this figure shows the map of the Faculty of Fisheries, Concepcion University Bangken campus, showing the different buildings and departments, including the main building of the Faculty of Fisheries, the aquaculture, marine science, fishery products, fishery management, fishery biology, and Center of Excellence in Aquatic Animal Health Management. Afterwards, the interns traveled about 2 to 3 hours from Bangkok, Thailand to Sriracha Chonburi to continue their internship at the Sriracha Fisheries Research Station, Concepcion University, Chonburi. And for the organizational structure and management, so in all different campuses around Thailand, they only have a dean, where Dr. Suryan is the dean of the Faculty of Fisheries, and together with Dr. Sukrit as the assistant professor or the internship coordinator of the Concepcion University, and Mr. Alongpat as the head of Fisheries Specialist at Sriracha Fisheries Research Station, and they have also a administration division, the research and technical staff division, and the field operations support division. May I call on Mr. Soler for Species School.
Good afternoon, everyone. One of the most commonly culture species in Sriracha Fisheries Research Station is the blue swimming crab or the Fortunus pelagicus. In Thailand, they call it puma, while in the Philippines, we call it alimasan. It is a marine crustacean that mostly commonly found in marine coastal areas, estuaries, and sandy or muddy seabed across Indo-Pacific region, including the Thailand and the Philippines. According to estimate et al. 2020, taxonomical classification of these species. These species belong to the kingdom Animalia and phylum Arthropoda, distinguished by its segmented body and jointed appendages and have a hard exoskeleton made up of chitin. This also belong to the class Malacostraca, whose members are divided into the three regions, which are the cephalon or the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. They have also a pair of legs, resembles as they can use it for walking. They also belong to the order Decapoda and family Fortunidae, characterized by its flattened posterior legs that they can use for swimming. For the morphological characteristic, as we can see in the schematic drawings of Lai et al., they have dorsoventrally rough carapace that are made up of chitin. In their first sexual maturity, the width of their carapace for the female can exceed up to 10.6 centimeter in length, while the male can exceed up to 9.64 centimeter length. As we can see here, one of the notable features of these species have a 5 pairs of legs. The first one, as we can see it in the schematic diagram, the first one is modified into strong claws that they can use for defense, handling their prey, or even for feeding. They also have anterolateral border. Each border consists of 9 anterolateral teeth, and the last pair of teeth resemble their horns, that 2 to 4 larger than their preceding teeth. They also have a stalk, compound eyes for one field of vision, then antenna for sensory organ. For the sexual dimorphism, as you can see in the illustration of Mesa et al. 2019, the male has a distinct blue coloration, while the female have a dull greenish to brown coloration with spotting and white marks. As you can see here, the male abdominal part is narrow or T-shaped, while the female is surrounded to carry their eggs. And according to English 1996, these species also undergo egg disease or the molting approximately 4 to 6 times throughout its life cycle. So then we proceed to the life cycle to be presented by Mr. Joseph Raymond J.
Hello everyone. So in this slide, we can see the life cycle of the Portunus pelagicus or the blue swimming crab. Before becoming an adult crab, it must pass through several larval stages and undergoes a series of molting or shedding of its shell in order to grow. So the life cycle begins with the eggs or the egg stage, and once the eggs hatch, it will now enter to the first larval stage called Zoea 1. So in Zoea 1, the larva is extremely tiny with a carapace length of about 0.44 to 0.54 millimeters, and its eyes are not yet on stalks, and its body, its abdomen, has only 5 segments. So during this stage, the larva fed in microscopic plankton and uni-ash artemian of the egg. And since the crabs have hard exoskeleton, they cannot grow continuously, so they must go through a process called molting or ecdysis. So this process helps the crabs to increase in size. And after the first molt, the larva enters to the Zoea 2 stage. So in the Zoea 2 stage, the carapace becomes slightly larger, with a carapace length of 0.72 to 0.77 millimeters. And one noticeable change is that its eyes are now located on stalks and showing further development. And small hair-like structures will begin to appear on the tail. And the next is Zoea 3. The Zoea 3 stage is the carapace is about to grow about 0.79 to 0.87 millimeters, and the abdomen now has 6 segments instead of 5, and small cleopod buds begin to develop. This appendages will later become swimming appendages. And after several months, the larva turns or reach into zoophore. So at this stage, the carapace increases to about 0.98 to 1.06 millimeters. And throughout the zoil stages, the larva uses special appendages called maxillipeds. So this maxillipeds is used for swimming, and this maxillipeds is used for swimming and showing and during this stage the larva feed mainly on Artemia and plankton. So about 15 to 18 days after hatching, the the larva undergoes a major transformation and becomes a megalopod. So this stage is already resembles a tiny crab, and the body becomes broader, the claws becomes more visible, and the swimming legs becomes more developed. So the megalopa measures about 1 millimeter wide and remains in this stage for approximately 3 to 4 days. So during this stage, the megalopa becomes more predatory and feed mainly on larger Artemia and zooplankton. About 15 to 18 days after hatching, the megalopa transforms into the first crab instar. So as we can see, it is already looks like a small adult crab. And with its abdomen folded underneath its body, it stops drifting in the water and settles on the seafloor, where it feeds on small shrimps, shellfish larvae, and other benthic organisms. As the crab grows and molts, it enters the juvenile stage. It becomes larger with a carapace width of 60 millimeter, and it often moves to estuaries and seagrass beds, which provide food and protection. And at this stage, it feeds on small fish, shrimps, and other organisms that found in the seabed. After about 5 to 6 months, the juvenile crab will now enter to the adult stage. So the adult blue swimming crabs can now reproduce and continue the life cycle. And during the breeding season, males and females mate, and female crab release its egg, then later to hatch into new larvae. And this is a gravid crab. The gravid crab is a female crab carrying fertilized eggs and under her abdomen. And during this stage, she moves from shallow coastal waters to deeper and saline waters, where the eggs can develop and hatch successfully. So may we call on Ms. Ramos for the distribution of blue swimming crabs.
On this slide, we can see the distribution of blue swimming crab in Thailand and in the Philippines. So, in Thailand, blue swimming crabs are widely distributed along the Gulf of Thailand and the Andaman Sea. They are commonly found in coastal provinces such as Chonburi, Phuket, Patani, Sulantani, and Narathiwat province. These crabs usually inhabit shallow coastal waters and estuaries, mangrove areas, and seagrass beds because this environment provides enough food, nutrients, and protection from predators. Juvenile crabs are mostly found in nearshore habitats, while the adult crabs migrate to deeper waters where salinity is higher and conditions are more suitable for molting and spawning. Because of the increasing demand of seafood and aquaculture production, blue swimming crab have become an important part of Thailand's fisheries industry and local economy. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, blue swimming crab or Portunus pelaticus are widely distributed throughout many coastal and marine areas of the country. They are abundant in areas such as the Visayan Sea, Bohol Sea, Samar Sea, and Guimaras Strait, Ragay Gulf, and Sorsogon Bay and the waters of Tawi-Tawi. They are commonly found in sandy and muddy bottoms, seagrass beds, mangrove ecosystems, and coastal shelf areas. Similar to Thailand, juvenile crabs are usually found in shallow coastal waters that serve as nursery grounds and feeding habitats. Their wide distribution in the Philippines makes them one of the most commercially important crabs in the country, contributing greatly to fisheries, seafood production, and the livelihood of coastal communities. So the wide distribution of blue swimming crabs in both Thailand and in the Philippines highlights their ecological and economic importance, especially in fisheries, aquaculture, and coastal resource management. So for the activities undertaken, may Mr. Ismail, please.
Moving on for the activities undertaken. So first we had the selection of instruments. However, in Thailand, they don't usually produce their blue stock or rabbit female crabs. But they have this project called the Crab Black Project, where the fisher folk, whenever they caught a rabbit female crab, they will turn in these crabs into their Crab Black Project, where they nurture until the crabs releases the eggs or hatch the eggs. So first, we then move on to the collection of zoea stage of blue swimming crab. Lenses, then first prepare the said materials and equipment. First is the fine plankton mesh, and next is earth stone, which is used to aerate and continue the water flow in the container. A seawater with about 30 ppb salinity, bale container, and a digital weighing scale. For the methodology, they just first weighted the rabbit female crab to get the quantity of the crab. However, the interns didn't have the chance to compute the quantity because in order to compute the quantity, you need the actual weight of the egg, which is we didn't get because when we arrived, the crab or the rabbit female crab was said is ready for releasing. Day after tomorrow, we arrive at the Rancher Research Station. Then, after weighing the crab, the interns then scoop the zoea in the tank container where they feed the rabbit female crab previous or release the zoea, and then the interns then filter the collected samples, quickly transfer this to the sample in container, and add an arrangement for continuous water. After it was then collected, all the zoea stage from the blue swimming crab, the interns then proceeded in sampling the zoea stage. Here are the materials used by the interns. We have counting tray, this is for counting, petri dish, used again for counting, a hard hand counter picker to assist the counting for accurate measurement, a basin, a pipette, and a microscope for assisting using. So for the methodology, we then prepare the said materials, and after the interns prepare the said materials, the interns then gently mix the container containing the zoea sample collected, and then after containing a sample of 10 ml from the container were collected, and after that it was then distributed to the counting plate using the pipette. So after counting, the interns get a total of 170 from the 10 ml collected sample. So to get the total zoea count, so we have this, the total zoea equals the number of zoea in a sample, divided by the sample volume times the total water volume of the container. So here's the solution. So total zoea equals to 170, which is what the interns got, divided by the 10 ml sample collected times 100,000 ml. converted to 100 liters. So the total zoea, or approximately, the gravity chemical release are around 1,700,000. Now moving on for the feeding of different stages of blue swim crab, may I call Mr. Alejandro?
Feeding management is one of the most important aspects of blue swimming crab hatchery production, since it directly affects the survival and growth into the juvenile stage. So here, we can see that feeding of Artemia nuclei for zoea stage. For the Artemia nuclei, the standard hatching procedure were done, and 2 to 4 times a day are the zoea are fed and the nuclei are carefully distributed throughout the container to ensure that the zoeas are fed. Then after they become juvenile to adult, we gradually introduce them to tilapia fish cats here for the adult. Then next is the stocking of juvenile blue crabs into coastal waters. This program addresses the decline of population of blue swimming crabs because of the pollution, the overfishing, and the habitat degradation. Then, for the other activities undertaken, may call on Mr. Season.
For the first other activity undertaken, so the interested exposed to the culture of phytoplankton of the Sriracha Fisheries Research Station. So you can see here the different phytoplankton cultured in the Sriracha Research Station. First, we have the Hyscoceros species, Tetracelus species, Zoosaline, Chlorella species, and Nanoprolopsis. Then, after a handful of lecture from the one of the researcher in this research station, Sriracha Research Station, the interns have a chance to see under a microscope, one of the cultured phytoplankton. So, as you can see here, we have the interns collected a Hyscoceros sample deleted from the glass bottle culture, and then was then placed in a glass slide and viewed the sample using a compound microscope. As you can see in the third image, here is the image of Hyscoceros under a microscope in high magnification. For the culture of clownfish, may I call Mr. Gabatas?
So, another activity undertaken by the interns during their internship was the culture of clownfish. So, as shown in the picture, a breeding nest was prepared and monitored for egg laying. And after spawning, the interns manually counted the eggs to estimate the number produced by the breeding pair. And the last picture shows the clownfish eggs attached to the breeding nest. And next, for the microplastic analysis for Baramundi, maybe we will call Mr. Crispier.
Other activities in the Sriracha Research Station is the microplastic analysis for barramundi. So here's the materials the interns use. So we have the zinc chloride, ZnLCl2, a fine mesh net, a Wattman filter paper, digital weighing scale, hydrogen peroxide, and potassium hydroxide. So for the methodology, the fish gut sample we got from a barramundi were then cut into small pieces to quickly help the digestion process of the hydrogen peroxide to add to the samples to quickly continue the digestion. Then after the digested sample were then filtered using the 20 micrometer fine mesh net to filter out more of the organic matter that we didn't need. So after we then filter the legit sample. We then added the interns then added a 10% potassium hydroxide to further continue the digestion process. And then after that, the sample will then reach with ethanol to remove any residual potassium hydroxide. After this, the sample collected from the rinsed ethanol were then filtered throughout using the Wattman 42 filter paper to retain any particles. For the staining of pan at Castleton University, may I call on Ms. Ramos?
Training of pan at Castleton University. So during our internship in Thailand, we participated in harvesting of Chinese carp through seining, a method that uses a large net to catch fish from ponds or reservoir. We observed different fish species in the pond, including tilapia, catfish, pleco, and bluefin. Through this activity, we gained hands-on experience in fish harvesting and learned the importance of proper pond management and sustainable aquaculture practices.
And for other activities, the giant freshwater prawn larval rearing, the Artemia production, the organic aquaculture production innovation. So the Artemia production, we have a three process including the encapsulation of Artemiasis, hatching of Artemiasis, and harvesting of Artemia nobile. So as you can see in the pictures, these are common step in the Artemia production, including the cycling of fruit fly from jar to hose with 150 micron mesh, and the rinsing of the nuclei with tap water, and using the clovidine iodine as a disinfection for harvested hatched Artemia, and the rinsing of Artemia using a tap water. And we also cleaning the tanks of the larval rearing tanks of the giant freshwater prawn. So, the all organic matters like orange is the indicators of the dead larval stage of giant freshwater prawn. So, it gives the like ammonia. So next is the sampling of giant freshwater prawn larvae, where they collected 9 liters of water and transferred to the container and get a 10 ml samples for manual counting of larvae to ensure the stacking density of the larval rearing plants. And next, for the fish health management section, the measuring of water quality parameters including the pH, dissolved oxygen, and temperature. So monitoring water quality parameters is essential to the farmers, where they monitor it is important for the fish health and survival of the cultured species. And for the parasite identification, so for the collection of samples, they collect the samples in outdoor hatchery for fingerlings XL size 22 and fingerlings IWES size 22 and fry IWES, and while that egg and fry IWES are collected in artificial incubation. So all the samples will undergo a parasitological assessment. So the fingerlings will be dissected using the scalpel, and the fry and eggs will immediately squished in the glass light. So all the samples are undergoing a microscopic examination for accurate detection. So as a result of this activity, the dominant parasites found was Trichodina species.
For the fish marking, this is essential to monitor the growth and population selected species such as the tilapia. The interns also immersed in the 3 different methods of fish marking: the ploy tag, feed tag, and link linking. In the ploy tag, it's simply focused between the dorsal muscles and inserted the polyvinyl screen and secure it with the recycled water bottle that cut into circular shape. Then next is the feed tagging. It is a passive integrated transponder, which is a small microchip inserted beneath the skin or the abdominal part of the fish. Then next is the pin clipping. It is easiest way to fish mark. It is cutting the selected pins such as the caudal, pelvic, and pectoral. Then next is the the anchors also immersed in the biopreservation procedure. This is essential for storing the tilapia milk sperm in the extreme low temperature. This is the methods to be used. First is the collection of tilapia milk from the selected food stock. This is the most crucial part because it requires the precise movement to avoid impurities during the collection. Next is after the collection, it examined under the microscope to examine the motility for if the motility. Then after this, it is being mixed with a bioprotectant to prevent the damage during the slow freezing. After this, it is being loaded to dry straw, 0.5 ml. Then after this, it is being sealed using the polyvinyl alcohol sealing powder to prevent leaking and entering the impurities. After this, it being loaded to the cryo chamber for slow freezing in under 30 minutes. Then after this, it is being stored in the goblets that have liquid nitrogen, and the temperature of this is negative 100 degrees Celsius to preserve and to use for future purposes. Next.
Here at the fish seed production section, the collection of carp breeders were done. Female breeders are selected, whereas they must have a protruding vent and nodding belly, while the male breeders may be selected to see when they are pressed gently and they release milk. Then next is the adding of nesting substrate. As we all know that carps are adhesive egg layers. Next is the maintenance of aquaponics. Here we can see that the interns helps to remove the old planting trays and soothe filtration nets. Then next is the culminating activity. Here is the last part of our internship at the BIFAR, wherein the interns presented their 3 weeks experiences in BIFAR. Then here is the strength and weaknesses.
And for the strength and weaknesses of President Sark University, first is proximity to the ocean, allows direct access to natural marine environments, making field studies more accurate and relevant to real conditions. And it also provides easy access to live specimens needed for aquaculture research. Second, the station is supported by expert and skilled personnel with backgrounds in marine biology, aquaculture, fish breeding, and resource management. Their expertise ensures high quality research and effective knowledge sharing. Lastly is the availability of modern facilities and special equipment, and such as water and soil analyzers, which allow precise monitoring and reliable results. These resources also supports innovation, collaboration, and training for future aquaculturists.
For the weaknesses, one of the weaknesses observed during the internship was the unstructured schedule for intern students, which sometimes caused confusion and made time management difficult. The lack of a clear timetable also limited participation in some hands-on activities and learning opportunities. Another challenge was language and communication barriers between students and staff from different backgrounds. Differences in language and pronunciation occasionally led to misunderstanding and difficulties in understanding instruction and technical concepts. That's all.
Thank you very much.